This next meditation, taking refuge in what's reliable, is about the fact that most of us, much of the time, try to take refuge, in other words, to rely on things for happiness that are actually not reliable because they're impermanent. They arise based on conditions, and they pass away, unfortunately, when those conditions change. For example, if, let's say, we're happy because we're eating a popsicle when we're a little kid, what happens when the popsicle is gone? Or if we're happy because of some accomplishment of work is what we rely upon, what do we do when that accomplishment is done and the next project is facing us, or we retire? In other words, relying on external or changeable conditions for happiness is not a reliable basis of true well-being. Consider for a moment the many things you may have looked to as sources of happiness, and how many times you were disappointed or frustrated. Those things were not reliable, were they? Or consider how the happiness those things brought you soon faded. Again, not a reliable, enduring source of well-being, contentment, and peace. It's certainly perfectly fine to try to do things in life that don't always turn out, so be it. And it's perfectly fine to enjoy things that are present as they move through awareness. But to try to grab hold of them or consider that it's they that is the fundamental rather than an intermediate source of the happiness and well-being in your life is like chasing fool's gold and thinking it's the real thing. So, what has been truly reliable for you in your life? In other words, every time you go to it, you can always count on it. Different people come to different things. For some, it is their faith in God, or in reason, or both, certainly. In Buddhism, for example, as you may know, people routinely take refuge in three things: the Buddha as a skillful teacher, as a human being, or the sense of the inner Buddha, the inner knowing quality in every person. Second, the teachings of truth, and third, the community of practitioners. In your own case, you might think about the things that you have found over the years to be reliable. It could be the love that a precious person has for you every single time. Or the way that if you just keep on trying, you can get yourself out of almost any situation. Or take refuge in your ability to discern the truth, even if other people are telling you it ain't really so. Maybe you can take refuge in the knowing of your own good intentions over the years. Sure, they weren't the only intentions you've ever had, but undoubtedly it's a fact that you can take refuge in, that you've had many, many good intentions, and probably, in fact, most of your intentions have been good over the years, because that's what's true for most people. Or you might get a sense of being able to take refuge in a basic fundamental goodness that's at the core of your heart. So, take a minute to identify one or more refuges for you, things you know for sure that you can rely upon. And then in the meditation, we'll go through just one of them so you can see how it works.